Hello everyone, my name is Tanaka. Nice to meet you. Today, I will introduce how to set up a WordPress container using Docker. You can also set it up on your own computer, making it useful as a test environment. In this video, I will demonstrate by connecting via SSH to another computer in my house. Let's get started. Before we proceed, let me explain the convenient features that become available after setup. I have placed particular emphasis on the automatic installation and backup functions. By setting up a WordPress site in your local environment, you can easily migrate it to another environment. Of course, the reverse is also possible, as long as Docker is installed on the source environment. I will demonstrate this later, but since I can not cover everything in the video, I will provide links to all the details in the description.
Excuse me, which operating systems can this environment be installed on?
Hello, Sumugi. You are right. I should have explained that first. Since many users are on Windows, I will introduce that environment first. For Windows users, WSL is a very convenient option. Other environments, as shown in the video, are also possible. Now I think it is time to get started with the practical steps. Are you ready?
Oh, the explanation is important, but I've been waiting for this. Let's get started.
Since VS Code is very convenient, I will be connecting to another computer to perform the task. The OS of the destination PC is Ubuntu 24.04, but as I mentioned earlier, this can also be done with Windows WSL. In the video, I have already created an appropriate directory in advance and placed the necessary files there.
Yes, I understand why, since WSL uses the same OS and looks the same.
Collecting the file contents, I created them myself, so I will make them available for download. If I have time, I might also publish them on GitHub, in which case you can clone the repository to get the files. Here are the file contents. Oh, I forgot to mention Docker and Docker Compose need to be installed for this to work. Right now, we are looking at the Docker Compose configuration file. The beginning part is commonly found online. However, further down, there is a script written to store the database.
Alright, this is a really useful feature, especially for emergencies.
Next is the file that manages the environment variables. By externalizing important settings like the database username, password, and database name, you can maintain security while easily changing the configuration. The Docker file defines custom WordPress settings and includes the necessary packages and configurations. Typically, you would need to change the ownership on the host to match the container for everything to work properly. However, with this setup, the host's user ID is matched to the www.datauser inside the container, which means you do not need to change ownership on the host side, a major advantage.
So, does that mean it will function properly even if the www data user or group doesn't exist on the host OS?
Yes, this means it will work correctly even on different distributions. Next, I will explain the entry point file. Since I cannot explain everything in the video, please refer to the link for more details, but I will briefly go over part of it here. Because the WordPress files are not present on the host, the script downloads them from the official source and extracts them. Then, the extracted files are transferred to the host. In the video example, it is the Japanese version, but by changing the download source, it can support all languages. Specifically, you just need to change the part highlighted in red.
This might be useful for people outside of Japan as well.
Lastly, regarding the PHP configuration file, for convenience, I decided to place it on the host from the beginning. If the host is empty, and you mount the file from the container, it will be treated as a directory on the host.
I see, so that's how it works. In other words, if the file is already on the host, it won't turn into a directory, and it will behave as expected.
Exactly. I decided that this method is simpler and easy to understand than controlling it through scripts. That covers the basics now. Let's go ahead and launch the container.
Let's get started.
First, place these 5 files in the same directory. VS Code is very convenient because, as shown in the video, you can quickly check the contents of this directory, but let us also verify them via the command line. Now that the necessary files are prepared, we will build the container image. The build command follows the instructions in the Docker file to construct the image and saves the result locally.
Is build similar to the English word make?
Yes, that is correct, but I did some research and found the following. Build does not just involve copying files. It also includes tasks like installing packages and applying configurations as part of the construction process. So, while it is not wrong to think of build as creating, it is more accurate to include the meaning of constructing as well.
I see, I now understand that build is not just about creating, but it also involves the process of constructing. I feel like my understanding is gradually deepening.
And while we were discussing that, the build process has completed. Now, we will launch the container based on the image that was created during the build. An image is essentially a blueprint for the container, and a container starts running based on that image. Let us check a few more things. Specifically, we will look at the files and directories created on the host, the state of the container, and the logs. Oh, I forgot to record the key part about the image, so I will show a screenshot instead. The container is running successfully.
Oh, there are 3 containers, but there should normally be only 2.
This one is a container that backs up the database in .sql format. Since the containers are running properly, I will check them in the browser.
This is great. The fact that the language selection screen doesn't appear is thanks to the configuration settings.
Alright, how is it so far? As you can see, it is possible to launch everything with just a few commands. Now, I will go ahead and install WordPress. After logging in, I will write a test post and change the theme. Then, I will stop the container and start it again to check if the state is preserved.
That's definitely an important step. If everything is reset after stopping the container, all the effort so far would be wasted.
That's right. It's crucial that everything works properly on the second and subsequent launches. I designed it with that in mind, but it is important to verify that everything is functioning correctly. Additionally, we need to check if the database backup is working properly. The database I am referring to here is different from the mounted persistent database. It is a backup created for reverting to a previous state or migrating to another environment, and it is created by a separate container. Since migrating the mounted database is difficult, I intentionally created this backup. Now, I have added posts and made changes to the WordPress content. Let us stop and remove the container and then check in if everything works correctly from the second launch onwards. Just to be safe, I will check the status of the container.
So, it's finally time to stop and remove the container, right?
Yes, that is right. It would be a problem if the previous state of WordPress was not preserved. I have stopped and removed the container, so let us check that it is no longer running. All right, everything is ready. I will now start the container again.
Wait, isn't it necessary to build again? I think we did a build earlier.
Building is only necessary when you have made changes to the Docker file or the environment variable configuration files. Since we have not made any changes this time, it is fine as it is. Now, everything should be good, so let us try accessing the WordPress site.
Oh, the changes we made in WordPress have been preserved, so the persistence was successful.
Yes, it seems to be working fine, but let us log in as well to make sure. Everything seems good. Oh no, I forgot to show you the most important part. whether the database was saved correctly. Yes, the database has been saved properly.
With this database file and the WordPress related files mounted on the host, we're fully prepared in case of an emergency.
That is right, but there is one more thing we should check. Earlier, we wrote and updated a post in WordPress. Since we made updates, the database size should have changed. I will restart the container dedicated to backing up the database and check. The size has changed, so the backup was successful. And there is more to this video.
What? There's still more to explain? Please go ahead.
Yes, of course. Let me explain further. Some people may want to connect to the database for purposes other than WordPress. Since the database container is already running, let us try connecting to it using a command. Enter the command shown in the video. For the password, use the root password found in the environment variable configuration file.
I see, so once connected, you can create additional databases if needed.
Yes, exactly. For instance, if you want to create another WordPress installation or need a database for another purpose, it is possible. By reusing the same database, you can save resources and simplify management. Of course, you can also connect from other computers. In the video, I demonstrated using Workbench, but there are other connection methods as well.
That's true when installing without Docker, you don't typically install multiple pieces of software at once.
There is still more information that I could not cover in the video, so if you are interested, please check the link for more details. Alright everyone, see you next time. Goodbye.